Ready? Let's welcome everybody to day 8 of Vlogmas. Yesterday's video was my shop with me and candle day haul from Bath & Body Works, which was a huge hit. So if you haven't seen that already, make sure you go check that out after this video. Today I'm wearing a matte lipstick because usually I get lipstick on my teeth. That's like a classic Kale's video move. So hopefully I don't get any on my teeth. But if you see any, just ignore. The day before that, I did some of my all-time favorite Christmas movies, and today I'm going to talk about my top 10 favorite Hallmark movies. So if you are a Hallmark junkie, you are going to be extremely excited about this video. So grab your cup of cocoa and get ready, put a little Hallmark movie on the background, because this is all we're going to talk about for this whole entire video. And if that is not your thing and you do not like Hallmark Channel movies, that's totally fine. You can either exit or maybe join the club and see what it's all about. If you're feeling extra festive today, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's free, which is great because this time of year usually is extremely expensive, so why not treat yourself to something free? Every single year, Hallmark Channel has the Countdown to Christmas. Hallmark Channel actually has two channels. One is the Hallmark Channel itself, and then there's Hallmark Movies and Mysteries, which also has Christmas movies. I tend to not watch the Hallmark Channel Movies and Mysteries as much, only because they produce so many Christmas movies every single year. I think this year they had about 40 Christmas movies, which I already have so many that I love just traditionally, and then Hallmark movies that throughout the years I have just become obsessed with, which I will talk about today. So it is hard for me to watch every single one. They do have an app, which I highly suggest you getting because it sends you reminders on what Christmas movies are coming out. Then there's also a checklist, which I love to use to kind of keep track of what I've been watching and what I haven't been watching. Also, last year I did a Hallmark Channel movie review, and people seem to really like it who follow Hallmark. I haven't done one yet this year. I've watched about, I think like 10 Hallmark movies already. So if you are interested and are just overwhelmed by how many they have, and you know, not all of them are super great, so sometimes you want to know to pick and choose which ones you should watch and be a little more selective. That is why I did it last year, and I've seen some really good ones. Actually, one is on my list tonight. So if you decided to stay throughout this video and you are not originally a Hallmark junkie like we are, they are called Hallmarkies, the fans of Hallmark. Hallmark basically has just these super festive movies. Like, I'm telling you, every nook and cranny is decked out with decor. The storylines are extremely predictable, and me and my family friends always joke about how it will end tragically. It never does. It always ends the exact same way you would think it would end. Lovely, all the couples end up together, the Christmas is the best ever. They're cheesy, you know, they're not the best actors in the world, but there's something very comforting about them. I'm not putting down any of the actors because I thoroughly enjoy, and I think anybody who is on the Hallmark Channel is so cool. I wish I were them. I would love to be in a Hallmark Channel movie. Preferably Christmas time. I would just pass out the candy canes. I don't care. I just want to say I've been in a Hallmark Christmas movie. So any of the actors that have made it to Hallmark, good for you. I totally wish I was in your shoes. There are also a lot of well-known actors that are making their debut on Hallmark Channel, which is so awesome to see. There's Candace Cameron Bure, Lori Loughlin, Jodie Sweetin from Full House. There's Kristen Chenoweth, Lacey Chabert, Danica McKellar. There's a lot of people on Hallmark Channel. So, you know, not all of them are unknown actors. There are truly, I feel like I've seen more and more and more. Kelly Pickler, yeah, I think that's her name. She's on them, and she has some great movies. So I'm loving Hallmark Channel lately. If I need something to be on the background, I turn on the Hallmark Channel. I will stop my blabbering now that you've got the gist of what this video is gonna be, and talk to you about my list of 10 favorite movies, and it was pretty hard to narrow down. I didn't realize how many treasures of movies that there are on Hallmark Channel. It was hard. It was hard for me to narrow it down. What comes in at number 10 is called It's Christmas Eve. The main actress in this movie is LeAnn Rimes, and if you don't know her, she was a very, and is still a very well-known country music singer, and she does some movies here and there, but I think this was her first Hallmark movie. I have my phone here so I can read to you the description to see if that's something you'd be interested in. An interim school superintendent, Eve Morgan, finds herself in a tough spot when she's assigned to shut down a school's failing music program and must come to terms with her musical path. I do not support any kind of music program being shut down ever, and we're seeing that more and more, and it's very sad because I think music and art, the art department, is so important to have in our schools, and we should be aiding these programs. If anything, everyone should be donating to keep them alive. I really like this movie because there was a tie to her dad passing away and kind of why she stopped doing music, and then this movie shows how she got sparked to bring it back into her life, and she's torn. All these movies are kind of like, they're torn between living in a big city and living in their small town wherever they grew up in, which I kind of relate to. But it's a really cute movie. There's a few musical numbers in it. She gets to sing, which I love her voice. Her voice is very beautiful. So number 9 is with Jodie Sweetin, and it's called Finding Santa. So the plotline of this movie is Jessica is thrilled to be taking over the running of her New England town's Christmas parade. But when the man playing Saint Nick, who is a hunk, he falls ill and she needs to scramble to find a replacement, even if the replacement is unwilling. I'm sorry, Santa isn't the hunk. The lead actor who replaces Santa is the hunk. He is so cute. Cutie. And I love Jodie Sweetin. Hello, Full House, Fuller House. Just nostalgia for me. And I'm really glad she's a part of the Hallmark family now, because that means we're going to get to see more of her now that Fuller House is over, which is such a bummer. I really thought that they did a good job at the chemistry in this movie. Some of the Hallmark Channel movies, the chemistry is not as believable, but I think casting did a really good job with these two, and I felt like very invested in them throughout the whole movie. Of course, everything was decked out. So what comes in at number 8 is Christmas in Love with Brooke Dorsey, I believe her name is. And I love some of the movies she acts in for Hallmark Channel. Again, I can't put all the movies on here, but there are a few movies that I love hers that didn't make the list, but that doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just I had to narrow it down. So this one is a really cute one. I would have to say that the love interest, if you will, the chemistry was like slightly off, but the whole theme of the movie, the Christmas vibes, like the family dynamics, I really, really enjoyed. Ellie runs the small town bakery called Carlingson Bakery. So basically, Ellie runs the small town bakery called Carlingson's Bakery, and I believe that this is the movie where she makes kringles for the bakery, and she really believes on being hands-on and putting love into the product. And then this big CEO comes in and is like, no, like, let's get the machines in here, we need to do things differently. And she's like, boy, what are you talking about? That's what the people love about these things. When you start becoming big time, it doesn't feel as charming and cherished. And she also makes these really cute wreaths for, I think it's like it's not a farmer's market, but some kind of cute little town activity that they do. All these towns have really cute, fun activities that I want to be involved in, but they're not real. As for number 7 is another movie that Brooke Dorsey is in. I really do love her movies. So this one is called Nostalgic Christmas. And who doesn't feel nostalgic during the Christmas time? I really think that's what Christmas is. It's the nostalgia you get from your childhood, or the nostalgia of the memories that you've been creating that are in the past. And you don't even realize that you're in those moments in the present that you're going to look back on and be nostalgic about. So as much as I love Brooke, the actress, the lead male is the hunky hunk of Hallmark, in my opinion. There are 2 men on Hallmark Channel where I'm like, ooh, good casting, Hallmark. So one of them is in this movie, Trevor Donovan. Hey, you're cute. He's kind of like Ken Barbie, and I think the chemistry in this movie is spot on. Another great casting call because they're real cute. So I'm going to tell you the plot line really quickly. Anne seems to have it all. As a driven toy buyer in New York City, her father's retirement to the closing of their town's beloved toy store brings the city girl back to her small town roots. Basically, she has to come back from her big city and help her dad clean out the workshop because he's deciding to let it go. I think there is something to say about small town toy stores. I know that kids are so into being on their technology these days, but wood toys and just feeling something in your hand, like it's like bookstores. They're so important to have around, and it's such a shame that they're closing. In reality, not just in movies, but in reality, these stores are closing. So I try to support small local stores as much as possible because there's just something so nice to like walk into a toy store. Like Toys R Us is gone, you guys. I love Toys R Us. They had like really picturesque scenes where they were like in a Christmas tree lot. They had like this big tented party. I really enjoyed this movie for this year. This may have been one of my favorites. I haven't seen all of them yet, but this may have been my favorite movie for 2019. So Nostalgic Christmas was number seven, and number 6 on my list is Christmas Land. This was a movie that I did stumble upon because, again, I can't watch all of these movies, so this just happened to be on TV one night and I was hooked. I think this is one of the honestly best ones on Hallmark because we're veering towards my top 5, and it was really hard to put it at 6 because there's something about this movie that's just so warming to me. The plot line, let me tell you real quickly, is after inheriting a Christmas tree farm, a woman's plan to sell it changes when she falls in love with the townspeople and meeting a charming lawyer named Tucker. So I just feel like everyone can relate to that, right? Like you think you're about to make this big decision and you know for sure like that is what you're gonna go with, and then things happen and things around you just change your mind and you're like, dang it, I don't know what to do. The Christmas tree farm there is stunning. Like there's this whole little town, they do a whole tree lighting ceremony. I love this movie. The actors are great. I love the stories about the past and how she used to celebrate Christmas with her, I think it's her grandma, and she talks about like what her traditions were, and then she gets to the place and all these memories start coming back, and I just feel like that happens to me a lot when I go somewhere that's very nostalgic to me. So that is number 7. So the next 2 movies are by my girl Candace Cameron Bure. She is the queen of Hallmark, queen of Christmas. I love anything she does. I always watch it, even if it's not my favorite. I just still will watch it because I love her. But usually she produces some bomb movies for Hallmark. We're at number 5, and number 5 is called Let It Snow. This was hard because the next 2 ones like could go back to back because they are going back to back, but I couldn't really figure out which one I wanted to put before the other because they're both equally just as good to me. But Let It Snow is about an executive who examines her company's new property, which is this lodge, and prepares a presentation to transform the rustic lodge into a new hotspot. She tries to ignore the lodge's festive celebrations during her stay, but an unexpected romance changes her heart. Chemistry in this movie, phenomenal. I thought they did a really good casting job. The lodge itself was beautiful. I want to stay at a lodge like that during the Christmas time. Oh my gosh, that just reminded me I didn't put one of my favorite Christmas movies on here. Yeah, I really just dropped the ball with that. But if you're wondering, it's called Enchanted Christmas with Alexa and Carlos Penavega. Another really, really good movie. So back to Let It Snow. They have all these festive activities going on and everyone loves to come there and do the traditions there, and the parents are just they're not able to continue those traditions because they're just getting older, and then the son doesn't want to take it over anymore. So this girl comes in, Candace Cameron Bure, and they're gonna buy it, and then she falls in love with everything that it has to offer, and then her dad, who actually is played by Alan Thicke, rest in peace, comes in, and they're just not on the best of terms. Their father-daughter dynamic is very off, so there's a lot of, you know, challenges that are faced within this movie, and yeah, you gotta watch it to see how it turns out. You guys, I did it again. I did this in my last movie video. I forgot a movie. I could not put this in. By the way, I want to show you my ambiance. Editing right here. Hallmark movie up. This is the new one, 2019, Kristen Chenoweth. And it's my cozy little setup right here. So the movie that I I believe is in my top 5 probably. It's called A Shoe Addict's Christmas with Candace Cameron Bure. I thought this movie was not going to be good. I was like, A Shoe Addict's Christmas? How cheesy is that? It was phenomenal. So this lady comes in and she's from, I believe, heaven, and she kind of puts her in her place and says, look, your life could have ended up a lot different if you made different choices. So I'm going to give you the second chance. You're going to go back in time and kind of take the opportunities that were coming your way. And there was an absolutely beautiful message where they're sitting on the bench about how God sends you sleigh rides, and every time that sleigh ride comes, you should jump on it and take that opportunity, and it will take you somewhere that you're meant to be. And if God keeps sending you them and you keep missing them, your life may not end up the way you thought it would be. So I had to add that in here because I love that movie. Okay, back to whatever movie I was just talking about. What comes in at number 4 is Christmas Under Wraps. This movie is very special to me because the first time I ever saw this movie, I watched it at the Christmas house, which is our family friend's house, the Verschows. They have their house decked out. Their house is a Hallmark movie, decked out for Christmas time. It's very special to me. So when we first watched it, I was in my comfy spot at their house. I saw the Christmas village that they have up, my beloved tree that they always put up every single year. We were just having the best time, and we watched this movie, and I think this was like the first movie that I was really getting into Hallmark Channel. So again, the nostalgia that's tied to it. The plot line is, after unexpectedly moving to Alaska, an ambitious doctor starts a new romance and learns that her small town is hiding a holiday secret. So the small town is very cute. She kind of comes in from this big city and she's like, oh, could I have non-fat milk? And they're like, what is that? We're in a small town. Which I feel like that was like my problem all the time when I wanted to get almond milk somewhere, and now almond milk, you can get it anywhere now. But when it first started becoming a thing, people were like, oh, what are you talking about? But the town itself is really cute. I love how everyone's so supportive. I really do love the love interest. And then the love interest's dad kind of is like hinted at as Santa Claus. And he goes through a lot of challenges, and she kind of has to, she falls in love with this town and is kind of torn, like, does she want to go back to the big city and be this big city doctor that she always thought she was going to be, or is she okay and satisfied with being in the small town that she actually ends up loving, and this love interest that she wasn't expecting to be in her life. So again, another story, big city, small town, but I'm here for it. What comes in at number 3 is called The North Pole. I love the first one, and I also really love the second one. What I think is really cool about this movie is there's a lot of green screen. They have to create this Santa's North Pole town, and you know, it's kind of hard to do, and you know, Hallmark is more of a smaller budget movie company, so I was very impressed with how everything looked. I didn't think it looked that fake. I just thought the storyline was so adorable. So let me tell you the storyline really quickly. When the power supply to Santa's city is threatened by the lack of holiday spirit, a youngster tries to help his busy mother rediscover the joys of the holiday season. So Tiffany Thiessen and Bailey Madison are 2 well-known actors that are in this movie. They need to bring all of this spirit back into the North Pole because people are starting to lose their Christmas spirit. There's an elf called Clementine, Clem, which I love that name, by the way. Clementine, adorable. That's on my list for my children. Sorry, Ryan, he doesn't really like it, but anyways. Again, it reminds me a lot of the Santa Claus and the way that they produced it. It's something you just have to watch to understand, but there's this scene of the North Pole itself, and it's just so good. They did a really good job at making a sequel for this movie. There wasn't as much of the North Pole in that one, but I think the storyline just blended really nicely with the first one. So I'm glad they ended it at 2, but I really enjoyed it. The next movie that comes in at number 2 actually didn't end with the second movie. They have now added a 3rd movie to the series of the movie called Christmas in Evergreen. This is another movie that the production quality, the storyline, the extra added graphics, and I'm assuming some green screen in here, was well done. I love the town of Evergreen. The way they make Evergreen feel is this quintessential Christmas town that everybody sees in all the magazines, on Instagram. Just this perfect town that has this perfect red truck with a wreath in the front driving around town. The whole streets are lined with decor. Everything is snowy. The townspeople are nice and charming. It's just a town that everybody wants to be in. And I think this movie was such a hit, as why they decided to make 3 movies. The movie was so well received that, of course, they made 3 movies now. The 3rd one came out just, I believe, last week or the weekend before, and I really enjoyed it. So what I really like about this movie as well is the main actors from the first movie get intertwined within the 2nd and the 3rd, which I think is nice, because then you kind of really feel like these people actually live in Evergreen, because they're popping up even though they're not the main focus of the storyline for that next movie. So I just think it's a great, there's a storybook scene where Santa is going through the storybook and talking about the town of Evergreen. They kind of go into the storybook and talk about that particular story, which is that movie. So if you have not seen Christmas in Evergreen, I highly suggest you watch the first one and the second one and the 3rd one if you have time. But that one it's perfect at number 2, because I think they did a really, really good job. It could be number 1 overall for Hallmark Channel because of how well done it was made, but for me, number 1 has to always be a Candace Cameron movie, because she's my girl. We have made it to number 1 on my list, and it is Journey Back to Christmas with my girl Candace Cameron Bure. This movie is such a beautiful movie. I truly feel like sometimes I was born in the wrong time period, so this movie to me just brings back this just vintage vibe that I crave and I love. I appreciate history, and specifically Christmas history. If you don't know what that is, you should, because everything that we celebrate now is because of how things were in the past. You know, just even the ornaments we have on our tree, there's some ornaments that are so old and they didn't have certain tops at one point because they had to use that metal from the top for the war. And there's so much to Christmas that people should really research and Google, because I think it's so intriguing to me if you love Christmas as much as I do. But this movie does take place back and forth between the present time and I believe it was the 1920s. The plotline is about a nurse from World War II. She is transported in time to 2016, which was when it was released, and meets a man who helps her discover the bonds of family and that the true meaning of Christmas is timeless. So she wakes up in 2016 and she's just so confused on how she got there, and everyone's like, what is this girl doing here? She kind of looks like a Looney Tune. And you know, she starts realizing things, and she notices that another family lives in the house that she clearly was just in. So she's like, what is going on? And she's in the town that she grew up in and lives in, but it's not the same town, so she's very lost and confused. The storyline is more in depth to a lot of other movie storylines that Hallmark has. And then one of my favorite scenes is the gazebo that has the Christmas tree in it. There's just this really beautiful message underneath this storyline. I don't want to give anything away because you have to watch it to just get those warm and cozy feelings from the underlying message. You know, she tries to find her way back to where she started, and she kind of falls in love with the people that are in the present, and it's just a really beautiful story. I think if anything, make sure to record that movie or watch it whenever you can, because I love it. I'm obsessed with the clothing in that movie. I think that vintage clothing needs to make a comeback. Women need to start wearing gloves. I love it. I love it. If I wore it now, I just feel like people would be like looking at me. I mean, totally do it. I think it's so cool for the modern day women who throw the vintage twist to things. I mean, it's awesome. You know, who truly wear like poodle skirts every single day and they rock it, or, you know, whatever time period they love. I don't have that much confidence, but every now and then I try to add like a vintage twist to my outfits. That's more of like modern day stuff. But yeah, that is #1 for my favorite Hallmark movie of all time. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope if you weren't into Hallmark Channel, you kind of want to check one out, and you will check one out that is on this list. I really appreciate you guys subscribing to my channel. I mean, I truly appreciate it, you guys. It is so cool to see that my channel is growing and that people love to leave comments. I love chatting with you guys, so thank you so much for supporting my Vlogmas, for my channel, and just enjoying Christmas as much as I do. And I hope I'm bringing so much cheer to your lives when you watch this channel. So I hope you guys have a great week. We are going to be vlogging again for tomorrow, so I will see you guys in my next video. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be. I kind of just like feel it out on what I want to do that day, so I'll see you tomorrow. Stay tuned. Bye.